The 21st century skill we've identified for improvement is self-regulation. We've chosen this as a group as we all consider this to be something we could work on. We all worked in a variety of learning spaces, and we will analyse and reflect on how this 21st century skill will improve our practice within our different spaces.
I work in a collaborative learning space with another teacher, and there are 64 students in our classroom. We work very closely together to ensure all students' learning is managed effectively. Working in a collaborative space, there are many instances where students are required to work in groups, and self-regulation was something that was missing from my teaching practice, and I noticed it most when students were struggling to take responsibility for their learning during literacy rotations.
As a BT, moving from a collaborative space in my first year of teaching to a single cell space in my second year presented some advantages as well as a few challenges, especially when looking for opportunities to improve the 21st century skill of self-regulation. There were no deliberate acts of teaching self-regulation in either spaces from myself. It was almost like an expectation, but I never taught my students how to self-regulate. This area of improvement was evident when the students weren't engaged and they're either waiting for instructions or unrestrained.
I've worked this year in a space that could have opened up to 2 classrooms, but this did not eventuate. So I chose to focus on teaching skills I thought important to help increase learner agency within my own classroom. I trialled different ideas such as workshops that students opted into and individual timetables. Neither was totally successful, and this is part of the reason why I feel it is important to research how best to encourage students to be self-regulated learners.
So why is self-regulation important as a future focus skill, and why is it important for different stakeholders? A classroom with self-regulated thinkers and learners who move from being passive recipients to active learners would no doubt help students to function in any 21st century environment. It's time to move from traditional approaches with no functional improvement and look for opportunities to extend the learner. If I deliberately give students opportunities to utilise and acquire self-regulation in the classroom, this would help students meet the complex demands of the world. All stakeholders are invested in the welfare and success of students, and if self-regulation happens fluidly and becomes increasingly refined, this competency can eventually be handed off to students, allowing them to drive the learning and take responsibility for their own lives, their work and their ongoing learning.
There are 4 pedagogical outcomes we hope to achieve by addressing self-regulation. First, students will maximise their ability to learn and solve problems through developing a growth mindset. According to Carol Dweck, growth mindset is the power of believing that you can improve. It's the idea that we can grow our brain's capacity to learn and to solve problems. We think that if students are going to invest their effort and energy in learning at school, it is important that they first believe the effort will be worthwhile. Research by Stanford University professor Carol Dweck and colleagues show that students with growth mindset perceive challenges and setbacks as opportunities to learn. Growth mindset would therefore allow students to overcome temporary challenges, to focus on long-term learning, and help to develop skills that make them lifelong learners. Second, students will be able to set and attain goals. Students need to make goals in order to help them focus on the task, select and apply appropriate strategies, and monitor goal progress. Shunk highlighted that goals should reflect the following properties: specificity, proximity, and difficulty. Goals need to be specific, and students need to believe that they can achieve their goal. Shunk identified that specific goals raise performance. Therefore, we need to encourage students to write specific goals that will challenge them but still be achievable. Proximal goals. Proximal goals reduces students' fear of not being able to achieve the end result. According to Shunk, proximal goals lead to higher motivation directed toward goal attainment than do long-term goals. With proximal goals, students will be able to have clear markers outlined as to where they will monitor their progress. Difficulty. Goals set by students need to be challenging in order to keep them motivated, but they also need to avoid goals that they may believe are impossible goals.
The third pedagogical outcome we hope to achieve is the monitoring of student progress. Students will be able to monitor their progress effectively using peer and teacher feedback and feed forward. Monitoring is to be consistent throughout the project to keep check on progress, and students will be able to feed back to teachers on where they are with their learning. According to Bloom, it is important for teachers to encourage students to reflect on their own learning, including their strengths and their weaknesses. Peer and teacher feedback allows students to get an outside perspective as well as recommendations on the where to next. Self-reflection needs to happen regularly in combination with proximal goals students have made. The fourth, students will have the necessary skills to become lifelong learners. Lifelong learning is teaching students how to learn and cope on their own. Learning at school is a stepping stone to continuous lifelong learning. Zimmerman says that self-regulation is important because a major function of education is the development of lifelong learning skills. As soon as students graduate from high school, they need to learn many important skills informally. Our goal is to teach students to self-regulate so that the skills they develop help them to become lifelong learners. McCulloch states that lifelong learning skills are some of the most important takeaways that students must exit school with as they enter the adult world. By addressing self-regulation, we hope to put students more in charge of their learning and achieve these four pedagogical outcomes. Students need to be able to self-regulate to guide their own learning.
Our plan for digital and collaborative innovation is to provide students with the skills to enhance their ability to record, reflect on, and share their learning with others. The specific area we have chosen to address is the effectiveness of sharing learning and reporting to parents. About 7 years ago, our school decided to transform the way parents and whānau learned about their child's educational progress by implementing student-led conferences in place of the traditional interview with the teacher. Instead of the teacher leading, the students were guided in the process of having a discussion with their family and sharing aspects of their learning with them. When we first started introducing student-led conferences, there was a mix where the students shared their work, then met with the teacher to finalise their goals. Recently, we've introduced PowerPoint presentations created by the students, delivered to families during the conference. The teacher is a spectator only with the family. The students have followed a template for the sequence of slides and number of slides, but added their own content. Our goal for 2017 is to continue with this growth and development of the conferences and give all students the opportunity to prepare, reflect on, and discuss evidence of their learning and progress through the use of e-portfolios. At the moment, the weeks before the conferences are hectic to make sure everyone is knowledgeable about their learning and slides are completed. With e-portfolios, the work will be getting done the whole year, giving a much better picture of the learning for each student. This transformation can lead to a powerful opportunity for students to promote and show an understanding of their learning. We have a proposal for 2017 where we will implement self-regulation into our practice. This will look like students working collaboratively, not just cooperatively, but sharing responsibility and decision making. Students creating their own timetables each week to suit their learning style and their needs. Devices in use 100% of the available time in the classroom.
Students work in groups to make sure devices are evenly dispersed throughout their timetabling.
Student-teacher conferencing to monitor student progress. This should lessen as students become more self-regulated and responsible.
Student to student and student peer and student teacher reflections, feed forward and planning.
Teachers planning collaboratively to provide learning experiences that encourage student engagement.
Students working on and sharing their e-portfolios throughout the year, not just at student-led conferences. Parents can access the e-portfolios all year and can ask questions via email or making comments on the e-portfolios.
Our proposed plan provides a transformation that can lead to a powerful opportunity for students to promote and show understanding of their learning. We believe that this approach will help learning become more self-regulated and equip them with the skills to cope in the future.
In conclusion, we see self-regulation as a valuable 21st century learning skill. We aim to make all students understand the key concepts of initiating this in our classroom and or learning environment.